Hey everybody, welcome to another RCT2 review. Today we are reviewing Evergreen Gardens, fresh off of a Gold Award win on New Element. And today we are joined by the one and only Alex, who built the park.
Hello, thanks for
Well,
having me.
welcome in. Thank you for jumping on, especially days after the release. We are looking through this sort of reimagining of an RCT1 scenario, and done in a very clean, no custom scenery sense. So we can see it's kind of a nice big map here. But I figure let's jump in at the beginning. So tell us about the park.
Yeah, so as you said, it's a scenario imagining, and yeah, I just wanted this challenge of starting with kind of quite a ugly basis of a scenario, and then trying to pick out some interesting things that I could interpret from that. And this is obviously a really iconic scenario. Everyone knows it. Um, and yeah, I guess everyone also has a specific idea of what it's trying to depict. So that also makes it quite a fun challenge. Like, how close is it to what people think it should be?
Well, and you've picked a couple cool vignettes in here to kind of sort of reimagine in not necessarily a one for one way, but in a very kind of specific way. And then other things, obviously, with the rides you've added and architecture and everything else, the sort of idea of this kind of chateau manor house with a huge gardens and conservatory and other things around it is kind of a really cool way to go about it. I mean, let's start here at the beginning. You've kind of taken these kind of more extreme landscape features on the side. You have this nice valley entrance through here. Let's start there.
Yeah. So in the scenario, obviously you have this steep valley, and so that was one of the main things I wanted to retain. But instead of having like the RCT's typical ramp-like hillsides, I tried to, I don't know, make them into something more like
A little
I don't know.
cleaner, a little cleaner, a little
Yeah.
nicer for sure. You do
Yeah.
have the very iconic colonnade that the real ones got, just in a much kind of cleaner, detailed way.
Yeah, I mean, in the scenario, that's just kind of a square of pillars. It's not, yeah, but it still points. It still gives you an idea that it is a colonnade, right? And then, so that was probably one of the more obvious things to reinterpret. I think there's some other stuff where it's a bit more like nuanced or subtle, but still interesting.
For sure.
Um,
And then, of course, as we jump into the middle, I appreciate this because I feel like it's something that as a community, we all do very poorly, or we're all scared of, is open space, no fences, um, a standard carousel with no covering or theming over top of it. Like
yeah,
that's some bold choices there, but it works so well.
yeah, no, it's yeah. I guess with the carousel, part of the challenge in this was um, I don't know, trying to keep things as natural looking as possible, or as like innate to the game's aesthetic. Um, yeah, and I guess it's there shouldn't really be something wrong with just using the carousel as it is. Of course, you need to find a way to disguise the base, and I added this cute little ticket booth. But
Love that. And
yeah,
I think, one of your defining features of no custom scenery building and your custom scenery is how clean everything is. Not over detailed for the sake of over detailing.
yeah, I think generally uh, I'm avoiding. I wouldn't say excess detail, but if I add something to detail and it's messy, I'd rather just not have it.
For
That's
sure.
that's my approach. It can sometimes end up looking a bit too bland or under detailed, but yeah, I don't know if there's something glitching or if there's like track architecture which looks so obviously like coaster track, or it looks kind of too bulky, or I don't know. There's a lot of times where I'm thinking like, yeah, and but I do try all this stuff actually to begin with. Like I do a lot of experiments to arrive at the things I end up putting in, which in the end I think people look at it and go, okay, this looks very simple, but actually it's kind of, yeah, it is the result of trying a few things and
I think this aviary is a
seeing what
good.
sticks.
This aviary really sticks out to me as a nice example of that, where it's chock full of architecture and the abstract glass pieces and fences and light poles and other things, but it's just all put together in a way that doesn't read, oh, it's a bunch of stacked coaster track. It reads as, oh, this is a an aviary enclosure.
Yeah, no, it's really. I mean, it's tough to get right. You know, like I definitely had a few iterations of that which looked pretty bad, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
What are the blue pads on the what is that
it's
made from?
it's marshmallow.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
that's crazy. For someone as me who doesn't build no custom scenery, it's always kind of mind blowing seeing the way that these things are used. So that's actually really clever. And
yeah,
then your rock climbing wall here as well, and that's
yeah.
just
I think with the
signage.
marsh, yeah, it's just signs. I mean, with the
Ah,
marshmallow, I guess it's like an object that, yeah, it's very rarely, if ever, used. So it does. I can see how it looks quite alien here.
yeah, it's kind of wild to see that. And then the I mean, I see this in no custom and custom parks. The nice bounce for or trampoline bounce. You got your
Oh yeah,
slides and everything, and then I do love the restroom buildings that are just clusters of a couple of buildings with a nice little roof on top.
yeah. No, I'm actually really happy with those. Again, it comes back to this idea of kind of trying to keep it as natural to the RCT aesthetic, and yeah, realizing that okay, I can copy these. They line up fine with no gaps in the walls, and already it looks like yeah, this is a pretty convincing restroom, you know?
Hmm. And I love the use of the doors here that you've opened up for the your river coming through here. Really clean, really nice. And then, kind of as we get into the more architectural heavy side, you've got this great, huge conservatory type building that using the tennis rackets, which I thought was a clever move. And then a couple little snack stands here.
Yeah. The greenhouse again, one of those things where it took a few iterations. But another realization when making this is like what a part that scale plays in building NCSO. Like I think it really helps to sort of build bigger than you would expect. And yeah, the construction of it's quite straightforward. You know, it's just that it has this kind of presence because of the size of it.
It really does, and it stands so well against the landscaping you've got around it. You've got these nice sort of super tall walls around the thing, which I think add this really kind of nice kind of botanical gardens feel to it almost, and the really manicured landscape. I like the colors and everything, kind of how well it plays off of this sort of big mass of blue
Yeah,
with the glass color. Just you get the nice warmth around it.
yeah. It was fun also to use some like more strange flower colors, like these full tile, like lavender type color ones.
Yeah.
Where I've put like bushes over them to make them look more like quarter tile or something, or
Oh,
when we get to this zigzag path, like I've kind of mixed them in with some strange color trees, and yeah, this was definitely like one of the fun things about making it was trying to use the more difficult tree and flower objects, I suppose.
well, deconstructing this is just really interesting. I spent some time when I was looking at this first, just kind of deleting objects and kind of seeing how you layered it up using those full tile planters, but sinking them down or hiding them behind so you don't see the planter edge and it just looks like a flower bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's really nice. And then I love the little kind of modern art type pieces you've got stacked here using the tombstones as your little information board.
Yeah, thanks. I was trying to get it so peeps would stop and look by putting like some invisible track, but I couldn't get it to work somehow. Like,
Oh, that's a shame.
yeah, could
It's a
have been a
fun
nice effect.
It's a fun
Yeah.
idea. But yeah, this is just a really pleasant kind of nice wide open path, and then you get back to this little grotto space, which I think is really pleasant. with your covering. Actually, the use of the flower beds here actually works surprisingly well for a covering.
Yeah, it looks like a bit of a peep trap at the moment, but
Maybe they're just
yeah.
enjoying the space. That should be fine.
Yeah.
But let's kind of back up a little bit here and then kind of take the approach up to the front of the manor here. This is a really kind of nice little water feature with the waterfall coming down. And just
Yeah, this is based on I think it's in like Chatsworth or something. There's a manor house in England where I saw like a fountain like this where it's kind of coming down. I mean, it's coming down an entire hillside, so it's a lot more exaggerated than this, but yeah, it's based off a kind of existing thing.
the jumping fountains are a cool touch also, just to add some movement there and just to give it some uh, different touches. I really like how there's a relatively subtle terrain um, change. So you have your first just little rise here, then you've got the retaining wall here, and then you've got the further wall up here to the manor house itself. It just has this really nice, picturesque landscape approach to everything. So that you can really tell the house is sort of sitting there looking out beyond across the water. It's very very nice.
Yeah, no, it was quite interesting researching this, like looking at a lot of I don't know, photos of these types of gardens and seeing how they were designed and the different styles. And yeah, I suppose this one particularly it's based off a lot of like English country houses where they have like a kind of fairly like modest front lawns, but then they have these more like winding garden spaces, like the bit that we just looked off to the side.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of a bit more of like a messy approach if you compare it with like a I don't know, like French gardens where it's everything's like super like formal and regimented and
Sure, and
all this
that
kind of thing.
absolutely is in landscape architecture. There's a big difference between French gardens and English gardens as far as the landscape approach goes. That was always one of my favorite classes in college,
Yeah,
learning
to be
about
honest, like
gardens.
it's something. Yeah, I mean something I knew very little about when starting this park, but then yeah, I don't know, it was quite fun to research this stuff. And
Absolutely. Is the manor house based on any particular one?
um, no, it's like an amalgamation because I was just sort of figuring out what would look best with the available pieces.
Hmm.
Like I tried to do some stuff with some steeper roofs at first, like using the pirate roofs, but to be honest, it looked too cartoony.
I remember the
Um,
screenshots you had posted of that, and I'm kind of glad you ended up where you did. It feels very kind of stately.
yeah, I wanted the kind of brickwork to be more like this sort of gothic type of thing, but then which would have lent itself to a steep roof, but then it just yeah, I couldn't get it to work. So in the end, it's I don't know, it's like a hybrid of a few styles, I suppose.
I like the castle roof and all the little crenellations on all the towers and everything, and then you've got the you know gothic type chimneys and everything like that, which is kind of nice. Um, but then the forecourt is kind of nice here with the statue. I mean, again, minimalistic, but works really well. Just the kind of single statue there without fences, without landscape around it. I think works well. And then our favorite detail, I think, of everybody so far, the chess
Yeah,
piece horse stable.
yeah, it's funny that this is surprise standout. I didn't expect it to be
Yeah, that seems to have
this
been the
big
winner so
draw.
far based on
Yeah.
comments.
Like
So
somehow I would have thought people would be more like into this hay bale from a maze or something. Like somehow I was expecting like people be more drawn in by things like that, like these kind of architecture tricks or something. But
which
no,
I yeah,
chess pieces horse, I'll take it.
just piece horse. I love the art actually with the angled brick that you've done here. Getting that little detail there is quite
Yeah.
nice. But yeah, all those little kind of sort of details that I think probably a lot of people do miss, but it works really well for doing what you're trying to achieve here in a very subtle way. And of course, a nice groomed manicured maze with the giraffe in the middle.
Yeah. Um I actually started this park with a much bigger maze near to the entrance, but it somehow like it was going to be more of a focal point. But yeah, in the end, I went with this, which is obviously quite much smaller. But
It seems like it's an appropriate scale to everything around it. It feels like this could very well be a garden-sized maze, like you would see at, like a smaller Versailles, sort of something like that. And it has that. I love the little this kind of stately building behind it and everything. That looks quite nice. This was, I think, your what do you call this? The old conservatory, which is
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I guess the idea here is this is a kind of older greenhouse, and then the bigger one is like a kind of newer build
New
as
one.
it's expanded.
I
Yeah.
see. And then you have more picturesque landscape type things. I love the little waterfall here with some of the little NCSO tricks.
Yeah, that was fun to make, and also again using these full tile like I don't know, these like double color gardens was quite
Little,
interesting.
little pink and purple ones with the sort of odd shaped things. And I do like the use of, just like you said earlier, the different colors, the white and blue going with the kind of maroon color here. It's just really nice. It's a very pleasant look with just mixing all sorts of colors together, and you can really kind of go wild with it. It works really well.
Yeah, I had like an arbitrary rule actually building this that I wasn't going to use any yellow flower beds, which is a strange one, but it was kind of because I don't know, it's so easy to
Huh.
make yellow flowers look good in a way. Like it's almost like an NCSO meme, I suppose. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this one entirely without.
That's funny.
Um,
And
yeah,
I almost feel like the yellow would have stood out too much compared to some of the other colors you've chosen. Like it all works together as a whole.
yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes it just helps if you're using like many colors to just eliminate a few from the
Mhm.
palette too.
And then as we jump back here, this little tree grove is part of a bit of a recreation or reimagining of something from Evergreen Gardens, right? There was a little grove in the middle, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. It's something you don't really pay much attention to in the scenario, I think, unless you're like deliberately looking out for like what are some interesting features, and then yeah, if you see this in the scenario, it's kind of like there's a mound of grass and it's got, yeah, these trees are obviously just plonked down quite randomly, but then it's quite fun to make that into a feature, to be like,
I think I
yeah,
appreciate too that it's not structured, so it's not like a grid of trees, which I think is kind of where I would typically default to something like that. But the fact that it's, I mean, like you said, sort of plonked down in random pattern with the flowers around it and the pathways works surprisingly well.
yeah, it gives it more of like a wooded kind of feeling, even though it's all paved. It's a bit more like a,
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
nice. And then as we move along to this side and start to get into more of the attraction based stuff, we have our little Asian influenced area here with the really nice bridge across the way, and then this pagoda at the top of the hill. Lovely path all the way down, and just the way that these sort of rocks poke up around this hillside. This is probably one of the more extreme landscape features on the map aside from the entrance. It's quite nice.
Yeah, this, I mean, there's also a hill here in the scenario, which was, yeah,
Hmm.
like another bit of the landscape that I wanted to retain. Um, I took some liberties with plonking like this big pagoda on there and kind of making it more of a Asian area, if you'd call it that. I mean, it's not really, but it's sort of, you know, as Asian as you get in these kind of gardens, right? Where they have
Hmm.
these sort of, yeah, I don't know what you call this kind of feature, but
I don't know. I feel like there's just little vignettes of some semblance of architecture to say, okay, this is Asian, but it doesn't necessarily have to hit you over the head with super Asian. But you've got
mm,
your cherry trees which you've used elsewhere, so it's not a shock to see them here. And you have more kind of red flowers and things like that, which really kind of work the palette and the sort of overall look of the space. Um, First big mechanical ride we're coming to after we since the entrance. I guess this is our observation tower from '74. And architecture wise, this kind of ties into this whole kind of tree walk, which again is a kind of reimagining of one of the things from the game or the scenario.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a random elevated tarmac path in the scenario, but then you can kind of look at it and think, oh, maybe this is like a kind of nature walk because it's in the treetops, or yeah, it was yeah, probably one of the more fun bits of the map to build this, actually, to kind of think about how to make this construction. And yeah, even these like the kind of netting on the pathway. I like how if you put the bottom layer of fence on the inside of the tile and then the top layer on the outside, it almost has this kind of like um, as if it's like pitched outward slightly,
Yeah, it sure does.
which it kind of looks like a rope bridge or something.
That's nice, and I love the birds hidden throughout with the ride vehicles. That was cool. I was looking at this the first time and trying to figure out what the movement was and
What's going on there? Yeah,
explore it a little bit. Um,
yeah,
and just this nice little wooded entry kind of reminds me of sort of a national park style like lodge entry.
yeah. I would probably say this is my favorite architecture in the park, or like yeah, I think this is maybe the strongest bit. I think other people maybe like the manor more, or the greenhouse, but I'm really happy with how this works for how simple it is, where it's just some stacked beams, but then using some composing things with these rectangles.
Feels
I
almost
quite like
Frank
how it
Lloyd
looks.
Wright-ish, to be honest. Like with your nice horizontal and the wood lines there, with your vertical posts that extend just upwards a little bit to give you that sort of you know notice that it's there, but it's not really heavily there. And it's one color. It's all brown, and it still
Yeah,
works really well.
yeah. I mean, I really like building modernist architecture in RCT. I think that's something people have noticed at this point.
Well, I
But
think
yeah,
everybody's a fan, so I think we'll take it. Um, so as we come down the mountainside here, we have this sky ride over here, which same year as the observation tower. So that was a good year for the park. I like this the structures that you've done here. Actually, both sides have a similar structure. Feels very much like a cable car station. I love that sort of hard angle and the slope of it all.
yeah. It's supposed to look like, I don't know, like abstract wings or something, or yeah, I don't know really.
Then
Just
underneath
messing
you've
around with forms.
then underneath you got your scenic railway here from 21 to 52, so no longer around, but you have a little bit of a ruin here, which is kind of cool with the ride vehicle, and then this one that's sort of overgrown on the hillside or the upward
Yeah,
hill.
a bit burnt.
That's a shame. But it would have been nice to see that and see kind of how it would shape in there, but um, it's kind of a cool homage to the past as far as rides go.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I come back at some point and do like I don't know, like a period version
It would be kind of neat to see
of some.
the 1952 version or whatever it was right before that closed down.
Yeah,
Then we have our boat chute behind with the using the candy canes here as the water spray, which is water spout, which is cool.
yeah. I'm really proud of this. I think it was Tulsimir gave me some help with hacking this on like how to
Yeah,
get it to like unload properly and wind back up and stuff. But
I
yeah, I
saw
mean it's really
Zarathustra. Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a really simple hack, but I like how it works.
Yeah, it's very nice. I saw Zarathustra's got 2% on the park. I assume he helped you with some hacking as well.
Yeah, with this swinger
Oh,
actually,
excellent. Okay.
because originally I was I mean I followed your tutorial, used the um,
Oh yeah, the wave swinger.
Yeah, I used the custom cars,
Hmm.
but then I thought like, okay, maybe it's worth trying to make this, pure and using the default vehicles. So yeah, I asked for his help
Very nice.
with making this.
See some remnants of the. Well, I guess this came first probably, but from the architects with your little star platform here.
Yeah, yeah,
And
true.
actually, again, as we talk cleanliness of everything, just using the one Martian scenery 2x2 piece here, just nothing added to it aside from the rings here of the track texture. Very clean, works really well.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of similar to this one, this swinger which was in the UK, which was shaped like a kind of planet. Um, do you know the one I
Oh
mean?
yes, the it's now over at Slageren. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, the Schwarzkopf.
yeah, yeah. So that this is supposed to be like a kind of parallel universe version of that ride, where it's like, um, yeah, not like your kind of typical fairground wave swinger, but something which is built with a very specific theming.
Got it. It's got some history behind it. This is one of the newer rides from '92. Um, then we have some bumper cars over here. Dodge ones from '89. And then this little restaurant type building here. And of course, we come along to our little 2x2 flat rides, which I really love these flower canopy supports. Those are cute with the different color greens.
Yeah, thanks. Again, this was another thing of like I tried a bunch of different things with like architecture or whatever, but and then in the end, yeah, I kind of like these objects. It in my head, this is maybe like a very crude like concrete, which is just painted and not super not super beautifully made. But it's just
Yeah, it's
how
something
how the
they've
park was building at that time.
yeah almost kind of done in house with some of the maintenance guys putting it together. It kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. And then 87 here, 1987, we've got Evergreen Express, the one coaster in the park, and certainly a beautiful coaster here. So this is a Schwarzkopf based on Liesberg Banan, would be my guess.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so, what landed you on this kind of coaster?
Um, well, I was first of all trying to put in like a scenic railway or something older, but I just couldn't really get a layout which stuck or was interesting enough. And then in the end, I was like, actually, it's maybe a bit cliche to be like, to have this kind of historic park and then have a super old ride. So I thought, maybe it's more interesting to have. Yeah, like this kind of terrain, Schwarzkopf, which can still be like, very have a very like signature feeling. But yeah,
I
so
mean,
that was it really, and also it was just really fun to make.
oh, it's a beautiful layout. I mean, it flows super, super well. I like the fact that you managed to get the sort of iconic helix of Leesburg put on in there, but not looking silly. Because I feel like in RCT, that giant helix tends to look a little funky and can be too much. So
Yeah,
it works pretty well here. And then just sort of the subtle bits like this nice enclosed tunnel here. I was a big fan of the little dive here underneath the exit platform. And the queue actually, and then the crossing of the queue there. This nice sort of floater airtime hill.
well, thanks. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the transfer track because I have no idea what I
I
was doing here.
I was gonna ask you on it, and honestly, it took me a minute, but it makes sense that the whole thing, including the turn, slides over to the side and then drops down.
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of the idea.
totally plausible. I mean, it's absolutely a plausible thing. So I was looking at it. I was like, okay, that's clever. I think it's a decent way to do it. And I do like the that you swapped it with the chain lift track. That probably is a good approximation of brake brakes on coaster like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's as close as we'll get on the diagonal, right?
Absolutely. And you have your little train entry here, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
And then A couple more things kind of in this area, game stalls here in the back, which I think it's done nicely in the fact that you can tell that this is more of sort of the tacky game stall compared to like the more clean stuff
Yeah.
from the chateau areas, but it's still done in a way that's not too egregious, I guess.
Yeah, like that was the vibe of this area. Have it a bit more tacky, and a bit more like, yeah, the ugly bit pushed away from the gardens and everything else.
But you still have this really beautiful fountain here in the middle, which was another fan favorite, with the uh, that colony in the back there. Again, using some of those candy cane objects is just this one's packed full. I love the
Yeah,
look of it.
yeah. There's a lot going on there. There's like chess pieces, there's some Roman statues, some candy canes.
It
Yeah,
works though. I mean,
all
it works
sorts.
really well.
Some of those lamps with free bulbs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. And then the this little kind of performing stage, I suppose, bandstand with the nice glass roof to it. That's quite nice.
yeah. I tried here to do a few different things of like using curved track for roof to get something more like a traditional bandstand, but yeah, again, having this problem with track architecture, not getting it to really look as clean as I want, and then yeah, it kind of came to me this nice idea of repeating the glass motif from the greenhouse and having it kind of I don't know. I like when you see the overview and then you have the kind of elements balancing out a bit.
It does. It works well. You kind of have a bunch of those different bits and pieces that it's you're not too heavy on any one particular area within the park,
Yeah,
especially sort of these open spaces kind of offsetting each other in the different areas. Works pretty well, so it doesn't feel like the park is lopsided. Love this ice cream cone with the shuttlecock on the bottom. That's very nice.
yeah, gigantic blobs of ice cream.
It's impressive
Yeah, I mean,
though.
yeah, sometimes like you just got to roll with it with NCSO. Like you get some stuff with stupid scale, and it's just like, okay, I guess that's how it is, you know.
Yeah, I think
Same with the chess piece horse.
yeah, it's just kind of going back and forth. I can handle the horse because I just figure it's like a Clydesdale or something that's just a gigantic horse. But then you got your nice Ferris wheel here. So, is there any particular point in your story as to kind of why the rides are done from 1992 onwards? Is it just that the park is just happy with where they're going, or is it stagnating, or
I guess yeah, they may be in this. Yeah, my thinking is that they maybe moved away from the kind of amusement park model because they're somehow not competitive with more like thrilling parks, and they're more into like, okay, we have these kind of classic rides, we're going to preserve those, but then the financial enterprise is now in like, I don't know, like weddings, events.
that makes sense? Honestly,
You
that
know,
that
like all this kind of like low expense stuff maybe.
that makes total sense and kind of feels like something that a place of this nature would do is hosting events, hosting weddings, hosting art shows, all sorts of things like that probably
Yeah,
bring in some decent revenue, but aren't mechanical rides that you got to maintain and keep up and everything like that.
yeah.
I love.
So this is kind of how I justified it. Like maybe there was a period in the 80s where there was like this big investment, like they thought it could maybe work, this type of park, but then I don't know.
Sort of another Alton Towers going off of the towers themselves and then building out and maybe too grand of a vision perhaps.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking of it. I mean, it could have you could go either way with this park. I think like, you know, maybe a lot of people would have liked to have seen me go, you know, full blown Alton Towers packet of rides, but um, yeah, I don't know. I wanted a different challenge. I think I also didn't really want to build with theming. I wanted to try something a bit more like um, yeah, generic, I guess.
Well, that makes sense. That makes plenty of sense, and I think it works well in the fact that you have theming in the sense of little things here and there, like the Martian stuff here, the Asian stuff here, and just
Yeah,
done
yeah,
done in those little tiny bits and pieces. But the rest of this is all just a very sort of traditional architecture and doesn't necessarily need a specific theme. It just all has very nice color palettes and landscaping that all works pretty well together. How'd
yeah. It was. Oh, sorry.
no, go right ahead.
No, it's quite fun to actually just theme like the the swinger. Like I don't know, trying to make like a little sign for it with this uh like it's called orbit, and then I have this like arrow next to this spaceship thing. So I don't know, like you can. I think when you're doing like theming for like one ride, you kind of can get away with these really tacky things, which are quite fun.
Yeah, I think that works really well. How did Josh here draw the short straw to be stuck on the island?
Oh, I mean, honestly, it's completely random. Like, so
This
when
is
I'm
funny.
like prepping the save, I have the staff menu open, and I'm just like trying to remember people's names, and I'm not even checking where they are. So
That's
apologies
funny.
for that, Josh.
I just thought it was good,
Yeah.
and the image of him in his maintenance uniform riding the bike out there to do the maintenance is a lot of fun. Just
Yeah,
thinking
I
through
hope
it,
he doesn't mind.
I'm sure he'll be all right. Well, I think that pretty much covers the park. Any overarching thoughts you want to impart?
Mm, no, I don't think so. Really,
This is
it was pretty.
very cool. And I will ask, in your save file, you have a coming or a mystery image in there. Anything you can comment on that?
Uh, yeah, it's another like scenario reimagining actually, but
Oh,
it's a very different one to this in that it's using maybe only the name and like a kind of a very broad geographical setting, but
interesting.
uh, but it's not really. I don't know. I mean, the scenario is based off nothing there anyway. It's very yeah.
Well, you've got my
I don't know.
interest.
I'll reveal more later. But to be honest, it's not something which is moving very fast. It's like chipping away occasionally.
All right, I feel like these days all of our projects are doing that. I think everybody needed a break after head to
Yeah, true.
head. Well, I think that's it for this one. Thanks for joining. This was a really cool one to talk through.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. You're welcome.
And congratulations on the gold, of course. You
Yeah,
got a couple
thanks.
spotlight yeses also, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, quite surprised about that actually, but always nice to see.
Hey, might as well take it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining. And once you release the next one, I'm sure we'll have you on again.
All right, yeah.
Well, and thank you everybody
Cheers.
for watching.
Bye.
See you in the next one. Thank you very much. If you have any suggestions for future rides you would like to see, or future parks you'd like to see reviewed, feel free to let me know and I will add it to the list. But until next time, thank you very much for watching and have a great day. Bye now.